Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Evi. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. So excited for this new series that we're doing. It's like so many insights that I gained while I was preparing. That even us that we work in this, we still have so many light bulb moments with them.
Yeah, so true, so true. And I think actually just as you said, as we were kind of preparing and looking at the things that we wanted to cover and some of the phrases that we wanted to kind of look at over the coming weeks. Yeah, it was interesting to see, some of the ones that I'm familiar with and others that I'm just like, oh no, that one's not popped up for me. But then also discovering why it might not have popped up for me, which certainly has come up with one of the phrases today. And so just for those of you who are tuning in, especially if you tune in usually, we're always talking about the saboteurs, we're talking about the sage powers, we're talking about positive intelligence and the power of it. And really we've been sharing our insights and our own takeaways from what we have learned and how we're using it to help our clients make the shifts that they want to make. What we wanted to do with this new series, the Mythbusting, is really hone in on some of that language that comes up for us that has become so common to us, so known to us, that half the time we don't even know we're using it. Right? It's just so common. It's just become part of, as we think, who we are, and really kind of unpacking that. So each week we're going to be looking at maybe 2 phrases. We're going to share some insights around the phrase. We're going to express or share why it keeps us stuck. What is it about these phrases that stop us from doing the things that we are not only capable of, but that we want to deeply do? And we're going to look at a reframe for each of them and then an action step that we can also take. So, Evi, over to you. What are we kicking off with this week?
Well, there is a myth behind all these phrases. I mean, we always think that they are the truth. But, one important thing is that critical thinking, and we need to apply that in everything that we do, especially when you see, through psychology, so many things are not like as obvious as they appear. And so, yes, the myth that we are talking or we want to unpack today is the myth of readiness. We are never ready to do something that we really want to do. And then, of course, what happens? You procrastinate because you're not ready. And the very, very common phrase, and I've used it, and I'm sure you have probably at some point, or maybe not, it's "I'm not ready yet." And it's the best thing to keep you stuck.
Yeah, it really is. And interesting, we were speaking earlier, and I was saying I don't have a recollection of using that very often, if at all. But I also understand why and how it kind of comes up slightly differently for me. So I look forward to kind of sharing that. But I think looking at the insight and understanding that this phrase really speaks into, it's masking a fear of failure. It's masking the fear of being judged. That well, if I do this and it goes horribly wrong, or if somebody doesn't agree, oh my gosh, what might they say? How will I feel? And all of that stuff that goes on. And it also about the fear of the unknown. Actually, if I'm doing this thing and it's for the first time, how am I even going to know if I'm doing it right? So we have the thought, and then we pack it up with all this other language and story behind it until it feels so real that we don't end up doing the very things that we wanted to do. And I'm not ready yet. sound very, level-headed, like, okay, well, if you're not ready yet, that's fine, you'll know when you're ready. Typical things that we may even say to somebody when they're saying it. And don't get me wrong, in a circumstance it may be a usable phrase, but when we are constantly using it and almost like shielding, hiding behind it, that's a whole other thing. And I know that it comes, two of the saboteurs in particular like to use it, the avoider, thank you very much, and the hyperachiever. Thank us both very much. And these are the parts of us that believe unless we are 100% prepared, like everything is checked, I's are dotted, T's are crossed, it's better to delay. It's better not to do that thing. So, Evi, I'm going to ask you, because I know you're one of your saboteurs is a hyperachiever. Where or how has that shown up for you, and how has it stopped you from doing something that you really wanted to do?
Before I answer that, I want to just point out, because you used fear in like 3 different versions there, and I want to say that the fear is actually the driving force for anything, and there might be other reasons, or we think they are other reasons, but fear is the main reason for any of this.
Yes.
And for me, yes, you're absolutely right, because of my hyperachiever. And when you're a hyperachiever, you very rarely complete things, even though you are like really want to achieve and do things and so. But what happens is that exactly that you're never ready, because you have that fear of judgment. And how can I show up like not feeling completely ready when I have so many people there from my immediate background, maybe I'm my immediate circle, or if I am on social media, and what people will think and what are they going to say. And definitely I'm not ready, because there are other people that are doing it, and they're doing it so much better than me, and it becomes such a narrative that like you can sit on that for months, literally.
Yes.
Months, speaking to yourself and going through scenarios that none of them is true. None of them has merit, because at the end of the day, like, even if you're not ready, most of the time, as you said, there are points where you need to be like 100% sure that you are ready. But like most of the time, it doesn't matter. And most of the time, you do learn. And it is also one very important thing: the faster you fail, the faster you're going to move forward. But no, we will sit on whatever idea it is for as long as we can, until we are ready, and until we realize probably we're never going to be ready.
Indeed. And there it is.
Then we are, sharing it, and we realize that, oh my God, there were so many people that really wanted to hear this, and we were sitting on it because we were not ready. So I think that's what my hyperachiever has done, over the years, and the procrastination, that because I'm a big procrastinator, and as I go through the work with positive intelligence, I realize what are the reasons behind it, and how to stop doing it and moving forward with like so much more productively.
Yes.
So that's how it showed up for me.
Fascinating. Yeah, and for me, so hyperachiever, yes, but actually above that was my avoider. And at first I couldn't quite relate. Like, I'm not ready yet. I don't feel like that's the narrative that I have lived with, or that has repeated. However, as I began to look at what was my leading saboteur, certainly when I started doing positive intelligence, was restless. Now, my restless was like, how many things can you do? And let's do that. So I feel like my avoider was being masked by my restless. However, the avoider would step in and almost ensure that whatever I started, I didn't finish. So almost like the same outcome as the hyperachiever, but from a different place, right? So it would be like restless is going, yes, you can do everything, just do it, great, fantastic. And then the avoider would be, I don't think that's ready yet. I'm not sure if that's right yet. You probably need to do more on that. So all of this stuff would get done, and then it would just sit there. And as I think about that, I'm thinking about there's a couple of books that I've written. Yes, I got them printed for myself, sat on the shelf, didn't do anything else with them, right? Projects that I started that, in the end I had to come to a point where to say, do I even want to finish this now? Does this even hold any value to me now, much less where it would have perhaps helped somebody, and decide whether to let go or keep. So it's really interesting to say, even though I don't feel connected to that phraseology, I see where it has come up for me through another channel. It still has shown up. And, like you said, I mean, it keeps us stuck. It keeps us stuck in not doing the things that we truly want to do, that we really value, because it encourages over preparation. You cannot be, no more preparation is required. No more preparation is required. And what does that lead to? Like you said, procrastination. So, over prepared, procrastination. Nothing gets put out there. And I think when you're doing the kind of work that impacts other people, you have to kind of get out of your own way. And it's not about me. I'm doing this to help somebody. And one fragment of what I've got might be all they need. So
absolutely,
to hold on to that is a problem, right? It's an issue, not just for self. And I think it also, that phrase kind of reinforces the idea that we are never quite enough. We're just, we could, if only we were just a little bit better. If only there was, a little bit more to us, we would be able to do this stuff. And wouldn't that be wonderful and great? And then also about, the delays in momentum and progress. Like you said, fail quickly, pick up the baton, get moving. And actually, when we're holding on to, or when we're living this phrase, we're just delaying. And we may be delaying what is inevitable. And because maybe the failure is essential as part of the growth.
Absolutely. And also it impacts our own self-worth. As you said, like the narrative changes to like, oh, I'm not enough. Other people are doing it better. People are going to think of my incompetence or whatever else is there. So it really affects a lot of areas of your life. And I want to really share with the people that are listening in that it's not just about the one phrase. It's about so much that it affects in our lives.
Yeah.
And that's why we have taken the time to go through every single one of them. And I'm sure there are way more than what we have come up with.
Yes.
That they are really affecting the way that we show up and the way that we live life. So that is what I think is very important. Not just stay on the phrase, stay on all the things that it does.
Absolutely. But I think each and every one of the phrases that we will be covering in some way is limiting our potential, is keeping us small, is, probably creating a crater between us and our purpose, what we're here to do, what we want to deliver, and what we want to put out in the world, and how we truly want to show up, as opposed to how these narratives tell us we need to be showing up. And that's why they're so powerful. And that's why it's so important to find the tools that help you to, one, raise the awareness, but then also break free from them. And I know that we both deeply believe that positive intelligence, I mean, it's one tool, but it's a really powerful one, which is why we selected it out of all the other things that we could, and we probably will to some degree, bring to the community. Why we chose to really use this as the basis, the foundation, because
Absolutely.
it really can bring results in really beautiful micro bite-sized pieces. That's also the important bit, right? So what's the empowering reframe that people who perhaps are using this phrase, what would that look like?
Well, I would say, why don't you just, instead of saying I'm not ready, what don't you say I grow by doing? And if you think it this way, doing is very important because you grow with it. So readiness will come with action, because the more you do something, the more practice you have with something, you become better. I mean, let's look at, I don't know, like very practically, like YouTubers. You see some YouTubers that you're like in awe of them and the way that they use the tool and how fantastic they are. But if you go back to some of their first videos, you'll be like, what? Couldn't be the same person. Yes, they are, because they have practiced. And
Yes.
that's the whole point.
Yes.
So, yes, I would use this. I grow by doing. And it doesn't matter how, badly I'm doing right now. I'm going to do better tomorrow. There you
Yeah.
go.
I love that. And that's such a great example, because I mean, quite often, podcasters, YouTubers, they'll all often say, go back to see some of my earlier videos. They make me cringe now. But they've
Yeah.
kept them there. They've kept them there so they can see the journey. Because it's like, I have to be willing to put myself out there. I need to just start. I just need to start somewhere. And it may be awful. It may be many things. But once I start, I can learn to improve. I can improve. I can
Absolutely.
get better. And that goes across pretty much everything in our lives. And so the invitation, if this is a phrase, I'm not ready yet, that keeps on popping up for you, that keeps on appearing, especially in those moments when you want to do something different, choose one thing that you've been delaying, just one thing, because you didn't feel that you were really ready for it. And then take one small, imperfect step forward, one micro step. Just get started. You can look at it, you can evaluate it, you can do what you like afterwards, but take the step. Because once you get started, that first step, the other steps are much more easier to access and do.
100%. 100%. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's the type of actions or micro steps that we definitely encourage in our community, because they're easy to do, and you learn a lot from them.
Absolutely. 100%. So what's the second phrase that we're looking at today, Evi? Tell us about it.
Well, I did talk a little bit about the confidence and how it affects, like, I'm not ready affects confidence in a way, but the other thing that goes hand in hand is like, I need more confidence first. Well, how are you getting this confidence? How? Confidence doesn't come from the sky, from somewhere. It comes from doing things. It comes from becoming proficient, but you only become proficient by doing. So yeah, I think that's the other big phrase we have to look at right now.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because there is this, in order for me to be confident, or in order for me to do something, I must be confident. In order for me to be confident, I need to do something. So it's like you need to understand that actually the confidence will grow from the action that you take. It is not something you can just go and purchase. It is a skill. You can develop it, but the development comes from applying. You have to apply it. I remember writing an article years ago about people going for an interview, and how you may be in the same room as 2 or 3 other people who are waiting to be interviewed, and somebody can sit there looking confident, right? They're sat, they look ready, there's just something about their presence that makes you feel that they're ready. And if you're nervous and you're looking at that person, it can completely derail you. And suddenly, even if you had felt comfortable 5 minutes before, suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, that's the person they're going to choose. So then you start creating this story and literally erasing any trace of confidence that you had when you first sat down. And actually, the ability to hold your confidence, just say, I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I don't know. However, I'm going to choose to believe that if I'm in this room, I have as many chances as anybody else in here. I have
Absolutely.
as many chances as anybody else in here. And that's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. Yeah, because, and I think again, sort of when we look at the saboteurs, so like the pleaser, the controller, the hypervigilant, tend to really kind of feed into this particular phrase.
Yeah, definitely, and because like confidence has to do with external validation. So the pleaser is like pretty much the like one of the saboteurs that we have that is looking for that external validation quite a lot and feeding off that. So definitely is affected quite a lot with the "I need more confidence" phrase. And the controller, I mean, controller, one of my higher saboteurs is that, the thing is that if I don't feel confident, I don't feel in control. So, I have to wait until I'm confident in order to feel in control. But this is the myth. Because personally, I remember occasions where, I really needed to like step into this confidence state and feeling really like shaky inside, because I wanted to show that I am in control of the situation. But there is like a lot of how do you call it? Like, because there is no truth in the confidence like this,
Yes.
there is like a thing that creates almost dichotomizes you. It splits you in two. You're like, yeah, I have to show that, and I'm like this, and I'm like that, and I'm going to really step into it. But because you really don't feel it, and you want to be in control, you really project something very different than what you think you're projecting. So it makes so much more sense to embrace the possibility and stay with how you feel, rather than just make things up,
Yeah.
basically. I don't know if I have made any sense with this, but like the thing is that yes, the controller does feel that they can only be in control if they show that they are confident. That's what it is. So they are not really confident, but they think that that is the only way to
Yeah.
show to be in control. So it really creates havoc in the way you show up. And thankfully, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like more open to be vulnerable and accept and take it as it comes. And the oxymoron in this is that you do feel confident eventually, because
Yes.
you are embracing your own reality, your own
Yes.
truth. So yes, of course, why wouldn't I feel confident
Yeah.
being who I am exactly? And it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
like what else shows up, because that's who I
Absolutely.
am.
Yeah,
So
and I love that. And I think that sometimes that is the barrier, is because there is this kind of almost clear image in the head of what confidence looks like. Confidence doesn't have one look, right? It doesn't have one look. In order for me to feel confident, then I must show up like this. I must have dressed this way. I must have, and all these things. Actually, what does it even mean to you when you think about confidence? What does that mean? And if you're stepping into a space and you are being you, i.e. you're not having to try and remember how to be someone or something else. Your confidence is there. Your confidence is there. Confidence, it's very difficult to put that confidence out when you are trying to copy or be something or someone that you are not. It can, that in and of itself can just throw you down a very dark tunnel. And, it keeps us stuck in that. It delays action and growth. It traps us in passive learning or waiting modes. And it keeps us reliant on the external signs of ready. What are those things outside of myself that are telling me I'm ready, when ultimately the readiness comes from within? So again, how do we reframe that, Evi? How does that become reframed to be more supportive?
The thing is that confidence is like the egg and chicken scenario. Like, do you get confidence and then do things, or do you do things and get confidence? So why don't we, instead of saying, I'll do it when I'm confident, but where it's not going to happen without doing anything, say that confidence is built by showing up and doing the thing. Don't wait. So there is no point in waiting. Let's show up, do the thing. And when we do it, we build confidence. Good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And really, when you show up and you do that thing, then don't get trapped into the other phrase about perfection and that ultimate outcome. It's just like, what am I taking away from this experience? And it always reminds me of when I was invited to go and speak at deliver a talk in overseas. Anyway, it doesn't really matter where it was, but it was short notice. I was flown out the day before I had to give the talk. I was asked to do it 2 days before I flew out. This request came out of nowhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the pressure's on. And then I just thought, okay, what do you know? What do you love to talk about? And what is going to add value to this audience? Because whatever that is, do that. Because then the pressure's off. You're not making something up. They've given you almost like the freedom to talk about whatever you want to talk about. And I think I did the A to Z of happiness. And it was brilliant. And we had so much fun. And it was really engaging, because I thought, this just feels right. I didn't have the answers to all the questions that they had for me either. So I didn't even feel like I needed to know everything. I knew what I knew, but when they asked me things I didn't know, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a brilliant question. I want to take that with me, and I'm going to come back to you. And that felt confident. Just being able to do that instead of thinking, oh my gosh, they haven't, I can't answer the question. So there is this need to take the action, to put yourself in that space and be prepared to take the lessons out of it. And okay, I did that. It may have felt uncomfortable. It may have been this. What can I take from it? What went well? And what do I want to work on for the next time? Because that's all we need to do, right? That's how we get better. Yes.
100%. And the thing is that when we reflect, when we take the actions, when we understand things like that, then it's easier for the next time. And of course, as you move along and you do things and you learn, it becomes easier not to feel comfortable and fully confident to do anything, because it is a learning thing on its own. It teaches you to go out there, to take the action, and not to wait until you are ready, until you are confident, until I don't know, everything is perfect.
Yeah. And I think it's when it comes to putting yourself out there, taking something out into the world, into your community, into your work, it may feel like people are going to be judgmental. Well, listen, some people will, because we've all got judged. So, I can't even tell you that won't happen. But the important thing to remember is that you're the one taking that step into the doing, so that you can have the learning, so that you can have the development. That is for you, and that is gold. So again, And don't get caught up in, oh, but I've seen somebody else do it and they were just fantastic, they were flawless, they were blah, blah. The comparison thing will never bring you peace. It will never bring you peace. So that also needs to go. This is about your readiness. This is about your confidence. That's all you need to focus on. And so, an action step is think about a time when you acted before you felt fully confident. You did something and you weren't feeling fully confident, but you were going to take the action anyway. What helps you move forward? What was it that was said or that you did that you thought, okay, I haven't got everything lined up, but I'm going to do it anyway? And I want to say that everyone has at least one of those moments. Feed into that. So this week, intentionally do something without waiting for confidence to show up first. Do something. If there's something that you've been putting off, it may be going live on LinkedIn. If there's something you've been putting off, do it anyway. Do it anyway. Because if you come on, and this may be a great example, because if you come on LinkedIn and you do a 30-second live, you've done it. Your job's done. You can then step away and make all the assessments and whatever that you want, but you've actually done it. That already breaks through a layer. And that, for me, is where the gold, that's where the gold is. That's where the magic happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the whole point is to get out there and do the things that you want to do. Don't let stupid, phrases stop you. Don't limit yourself for no reason.
Yeah.
I don't think we were ever ready to do any live on LinkedIn, or when we first came live, we just said, okay, let's do it. We have to do it. Let's do it. And it's almost a year now that we're doing this every week. It's wow. I cannot believe it. But I mean, it is, what it is. And I think that you just need to be ready to fail if you want to, to move forward.
Just be open. Just be open to the experience and see it as an experience. Stop focusing on the outcome, because the minute you start thinking, I'm going to fail, or it's going to be this, or it's going to be that, they're the things that also just kind of double up behind the phrase. And now it's I definitely am not doing it. Right. So just be open to the experience. It's an experience, and you just take away the lessons from it. And then you just say, okay, do I ever want to do that again? Yes or no? If I say yes, okay, what would I like to improve on? What does that? And if I say no, I never want to do it again, does it matter? Is it truly important whether I do or I don't? Ask yourselves better questions, and just take it from there. But don't. For me, it's about not allowing this language, the narratives, these phrases, to stop you moving into spaces that need you. Because there are spaces that need you, that need to hear your voice, that need to hear your message. And for you not to show up in them is not just a loss for you, but it's a loss to the people who are there waiting to hear from you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So well said, Yvonne. Yes.
Yeah. That's where we're at. So there we go. So that's it for this week. We've looked at the readiness myth. We've looked at a couple of different phrases. We've looked at a few of the different saboteurs, the kind of messages that they kind of bring with that. So we hope that that's useful. But this is the work. There's so much to it, and yet there are really simple ways of being able to shift away from these narratives and create better ones, create stories that support you and that encourage you and that empower you. And that's what Permission to Thrive is all about. That's the work that we have committed to do in our community. And, the doors are open. We'll be showing a new QR code and our full landing page and stuff when you join us next week. So look out for that. But in the meantime, any questions, if there's anything you want to know, then please just reach out to either one of us. We are here to support and encourage all the way.
Absolutely. 100%. And we do it imperfectly.
Yes.
And very proud of it.
I am perfectly imperfect and imperfectly perfect, and I'm good with that.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Listen, if you have joined us today, thank you so much. We always appreciate when people join us. We love the messages that we get, always encouraging. And please stay with us. Next week, we'll look at a couple of different phrases. And if there are any phrases you know that really show up for you on a regular basis, you're thinking, that always comes up for me and it stops me from doing what I want to do, it gets in my way, then please share them with us. We would love to kind of have a look at those for you and also bring them onto the lives. So yeah, that's an invitation. Fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you, Evi, as always. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Okay. Bye.